Hi, and welcome to my channel. This is 3 Deep Breaths, and my name's Alex. For many years, I was a full-time yoga teacher in Santa Monica, California. There, I was teaching 20 classes per week, as well as leading teacher trainings and, of course, practicing on my own. I feel really grateful because I not only got to practice with some of the most amazing yoga teachers from across the planet, but I got to explore a community that was interested in the physiology and the science and anatomy behind human movement. So I'm so excited to share this evolution of my practice and teaching, and I'm so grateful for you to be here. I hope you like what we have in store for you. The reason this channel is called 3 Deep Breaths is that oftentimes when we get to the mat, we're still cluttered. We're thinking about all the things that have transpired, or we're thinking about all the stuff that we have to do after the practice. So let's take 3 deep breaths together. It's really amazing for the nervous system. It's great to feel our body in space and help us anchor into the present. This first breath we take for the past. Everything that's happened up until this moment has guided us to come here together. Take a deep breath in, and wherever you're coming from, let's let it go. The second breath we take for the future. We never know what's in store for us, and so releasing all expectations or attachments to future outcomes, take a deep breath in. Honoring the possibility while letting go, exhale. And the third deep breath we take for this present moment. Everything we have experienced has led us to this moment. Everything we hope to accomplish, we must forge in the present time experience. Take a deep breath in. Feel the breath as it enters your body. And feel the sense of relaxation through the exhale. Let's begin. This is the first video of our sunrise sessions, and today I'll be going over the seated pose. So this is the first pose in all of yoga. The word asana doesn't actually mean pose, it means seat. The basis of yoga was always meant for us to find comfort and stillness in a seated pose so that we could meditate, come to a place of quiet, of connection within ourselves. I'm really grateful because in November I had the opportunity to do a 10-day Vipassana retreat. That's 10 days where every day you're meditating anywhere between 10 to 12 hours a day. Now that's a lot of sitting. And what many people will tell you is that they really underestimate the physicality of sitting for prolonged periods of time. So I'll be going over 3 poses that you can use while you're doing your meditation, whether you're doing a 5-minute meditation or an hour-long meditation or longer. There are some basic concepts that can help you find a sense of awareness and find a sense of comfort while you're sitting so that you can go on to the deeper aspects of feeling your energy in the moment. So the first foundational idea is to find your sits bones. On the bottom of the pelvis, you have these 2 bony protrusions. Let's come to a seat and extend the legs about halfway straight in front. Now, flex your toes back against your shins. The reason we're going halfway straight is to keep the hamstrings slightly relaxed so that if they're too tight, it'll generally pull the pelvis under. It'll cause, you can see my low back starts to round. If I was sitting this way, which is how we're usually accustomed to sitting if we're behind a desk all day, I'm actually compressing my lumbar spine. This doesn't feel good because my body is not vertical, it's not finding a sense of structural stability. Then all of a sudden I'll have more tension on my neck, more tension on my shoulders. So first things first, imagine the pelvis is like a bowl of water. If you bend your knees about halfway, you pull your heels backwards constantly. This is an active engagement. There's 2 things that we want to play with. One, this is engaging the hamstrings, which is helping the pelvis go from this pouring back position to a much more level position. So just try this with me. Squeeze the heels back until you feel your body either coming to an upright position or even slightly tilting forward. Then relax. You kind of straighten the legs a little bit more. Feel what it's like to actually pour the water off the backside. Then do it again. Draw the heels back, go upright, maybe slightly forward. Extend the legs, go back. Now what you're doing for is you go in and out of these two positions is you're looking for a very distinct feeling. Those sits bones, those two bony protrusions, when they are balanced, when you're sitting right on top of them, it will feel much more direct. And in that same moment, you feel the direct contact of the sit bones into a hard surface. I recommend using not something too fluffy or cushiony. I know that kind of makes sense as you want to be comfortable, but it's actually better for you to have something a little more supportive, a little more firm, so that you can feel this. The sit bones press down. Now there's a rebounding lift into the lower back. The second aspect of finding the neutral pelvis is to draw your thigh bones into your hip sockets, engaging the muscles of the hip flexors. Thigh bones draw in, sit nice and tall. There's an engagement here in the hip flexors and a feeling very distinct of balancing on the sit bones and that rebounding length into the lower back. Okay, so that's first foundational idea. Now, when you're finding your seat, the three poses I'm going to share with you today, one is called Siddhasana. In Siddhasana, we bring the heels one in front of the other. Now, this allows the shins to go wide and the thighs to go wide. The second fundamental idea is that we want to spread the surface contact of our body out. I have the balance of the sit bones, the engagement of the hip flexors, and weight distributed across the shins. If it's comfortable here and you have your knees lifted a little higher, then you can put blocks or you can put cushions underneath the thighs just to take some of the weight off of your pelvis. Make sure your pelvis is upright, weight's distributed through the legs. If your hips aren't so open, that's okay. I prefer something firm underneath the seat, and then if needed, if the knees are lifted, something soft underneath the ankles. The reason being, in prolonged periods of time, you'll start to feel pressure on the ankles, maybe even a slight stretching on the outside tendons of the ankle, and it's not going to feel good, especially for those longer sits. Now with my shin bones down, I feel the sit bones. Now specifically, those sit bones sit on either side of the spine on the bottom of the pelvis. As I press the sit bones down, I take the top of the head and reach it straight up. And this is where you can start to play, never assuming you're sitting completely vertical. Instead, explore. Do a little bit of cat and cow, rounding your spine. If you're not sure what that is, think of a dolphin. Think of swimming upwards from the bottom of the ocean towards the top, or from the earth into the sky. As you find that movement in the pelvis, you find the length in the lower back, keep reaching top of the head up. As the top of the head reaches up and the sit bones press down, then your spine, which is in the middle, starts to gain length and traction. Now the next step, the next idea here, a lot of times you'll see yogis sitting with their palms face up, maybe their thumbs and index fingers are touching, or maybe the hands are just open. Not only do we want to find the rotation in the forearm and the wrist, but here in the upper arm. Watch what happens when I wrap the backs of the triceps under. As the rotation goes external in the upper arms, it begins to spread the chest and the collarbones nice and wide. So putting this all together, sit bones heavy, pelvis level, weight distributed evenly across the legs. From this downward force, the rebounding lift into the lower back, the rebounding lift to the top of the head. And now I rotate from the upper arms. Yes, the palms turn to the sky, but also you want to feel your collarbones and your chest spread. Why? Now we have maximum length for the spine and maximum space for the breath. Let's take a deep breath in. Open mouth exhale. Steady breath in. Through the nose, exhale out. And now start to land in a much more natural breath. Can you observe the breath as it is? So those same foundational ideas, I'm going to play with in another pose called Sukhasana. Very traditionally, you'll see this, maybe teachers call it crisscross applesauce or something like that, but there are some key ideas that often get overlooked. So one of them, when we're crossing, is people tend to cross at the ankles. So they're sort of in the last position, which was Siddhasana. They're not really in Sukhasana. Why is this important? Well, when my ankles are crossed this way, my knees are going to be a little bit wider, and my foot goes back into that same constricted position where the ankle is being turned, so the sole of the foot is face up. Over a minute, you're not going to feel much, but over time, you start to stretch the tendons here in the outer ankle. It's not going to feel good. So what we want to do is cross at the middle shins so that the ankles and the knees are lined up together. Now, before we drop the knees down, this is critical. Flex the feet back against the shins. Make a nice strong ankle, and it's just enough. You feel the muscles on the shin engage. You feel a firmness in the ankle, a nice structural stability here. And then lightly you press the pinky side edges of the feet down into the ground. And that downward force, all of a sudden, gives a slight lift to the thighs. Now, the heels don't move, but you pull them slightly back. And that's that feeling of the thigh bones moving inside the pelvis. And now you're back in your upright seated position. Everything else is the same. Palms turn up. You wrap the backs of the triceps. The sit bones are heavy. The hip flexors engage. The spine is tall. And the chest is open, ready for you to breathe. Now, you're not necessarily going to breathe all the way full to all the way empty. I recommend doing that a few times just so you feel the fullness of your lung capacity. But having a more open posture is going to allow your breath to flow more freely. Okay, and the third position, if your hips are a little tight, then I recommend just using a chair. Paramahamsa Yogananda said, for cultures that don't sit on the floor and they want to come to meditate, trying to emulate the Eastern meditation principles of sitting on the floor, it's not going to be very beneficial for you. You'll spend a lot of time just dealing with the discomfort in your hips. So in order to find your meditative seat, sit in a chair. Now, I know it sounds silly, like why are we going over this? Well, it's because most people when they sit in a chair, they sit like this. Same rounded position, same dumping of the pelvis. We actually want to find the feet on the floor, and if your legs don't reach, put a bolster or something underneath your feet. Grounding your energy starts by feeling the ground or whatever is the most stable thing underneath you. So feel the soles of the feet into the ground. Play with the angle of the pelvis. You're still looking for those sits bones. Feel the direct contact of the sits bones down into the chair. The feet don't move, but there's a slight drawing of the thigh bones in so that your pelvis is in a nice, neutral, upright position. I recommend not leaning back into the chair, and if you need, then maybe you put pillows so that you can find this upright position. Now here, because of the knees being at hip distance, it may feel awkward to turn the palms up. We still want to create that external rotation in the arms. You could have that with the hands on the lap, or you could open up the knees a little wider, kind of emulating what happens in Sukhasana or Siddhasana. So palms rotate open, triceps rotate under, and we find a nice tall seat. I feel the ground underneath the feet. I feel the chair underneath the seat. I feel the connection, thigh bones inserted into the pelvis. The downward pressure rebounds the upward lift. I take that all the way to the top of the head. It is active, but it shouldn't be aggressive, and that's the key. there's a yogic principle called Sthira Sukha Asanam. Sthira means steady, Sukha means easy, and Asanam means seat. The seat, or you can call it the pose, is a balance between steadiness and easiness. If it's too steady, you start to get aggressive. You'll fatigue. If it's too easy, you get a little sleepy. So that perfect balance, or that exploration of balance between the two, allows the energy to flow while not overexerting yourself. So I hope this video helps you in your practice. Let me know what other things you'd like to see. I think the seated pose should not be underestimated. Whether you're meditating for 5 minutes or 11 hours a day, finding a good seated position will take you from having a soft practice where you're really uncomfortable to being able to do some of the deeper processing. The more you can find stillness, the more you're aware, the longer you keep your spine, which is your antenna, it's your connection to the outside world, your connection to your internal organs. The more you can find an easy flow within your breath, the deeper you'll go in your practice. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you on the next video.